In our first story, 6 people have been killed and several others injured in an accident on the Techiman-Kintampo Road in the Bono Ahafo region. 5 of them reportedly died on the spot when a Neoplan bus collided with a truck carrying tomatoes this dawn at Tanumpuasi near Techiman. The bus is said to have been traveling from Bolgatanga to Kumasi while the truck was on its way to Burkina Faso. Another stretch of the highway was a bloody scene last year when at least 50 people were killed in an accident. Joy News' Bono Ahafo regional correspondent reports the truck driver died on the spot while his assistant is in critical condition. 4 passengers on board the bus also died instantly, whilst those injured are receiving treatment at the Holy Family Hospital in Techiman, from where MTTD boss ASP Andrews Okoneje is joining us with more details. Good evening and welcome to Joy News Prime.
Good evening, my sister.
So do we know what caused this accident?
For now, we are not yet able to know what exactly caused the accident. In fact, the vehicle examiner was there, and he could not actually establish the cause of it. What we do know is that this Neoplan bus, for that matter, with registration number AS2733V, driven by one Mbatia Musa, 55 years, now deceased, was traveling from Bolga to Kumasi, and then on reaching a portion of the road between Lipa Nyamwa and Bono Manso, there is a place that 3 lanes were constructed, and drivers popularly called that area climbing lane. That 3rd lane, they do call it climbing lane. The bus driver was using the climbing lane, and normally when a car is not very fast, the driver uses that lane, and then the other ones will use the other lane, the other original lane. So he was using that lane, and then this staff truck, also on its way to Pagatu to Burkina Faso to buy tomatoes, was also coming from the Techiman direction towards Kintampo direction. Nobody knows exactly what happened, and he crashed into the bus on that lane, that climbing lane, that is extremely out of the main road, and they all ran into a ditch. And in fact, a part of the 2 vehicles were scattered. You can find the engine lying somewhere, the gearbox lying somewhere, both of the vehicles, tires and whatever. The vehicles were virtually dismantled. And as you rightly said, we picked 5 bodies there at the scene of accident after our colleagues from fire service assisted us to cut some portions of the vehicle to remove some of the bodies. And then we also took 32 people to the hospital.
Okay, and speaking about these 32 people who survived the accident, tell us, how critical are their injuries?
Yeah, out of the 32, 1 died at the hospital later. So now the death rate is 6 instead of 5. And some of them are actually in a critical condition. The driver in charge of the truck, whose name is Nasiru Damani, 27, he is in a critical condition. The earlier report you had was that he died. He did not die. It was his assistant driver that rather died.
Okay, thanks for that correction. But ASP, is there any problem with that road, that particular stretch of road, considering that about 50 people died around last year on that same stretch?
My sister, I wouldn't say there is any problem with that road, especially where this accident happened. In fact, it's not just a dual carriage road as we used to see. The contractors or the engineers thought it wise to construct an additional lane so that vehicles can use that lane, those who cannot speed. And so where the vehicle was climbing from, the bus was climbing from, and then where this truck was also descending from. I don't actually know why the truck moved from his lane, crossed the other middle lane, and then got into the driving lane and crashed with this driver. We are still trying to see if we can get someone who can talk to us. But unfortunately, we've not been able to get anyone that will be able to talk to us. But vehicle examiners have not revealed any technical problem that could have dragged the truck into that lane.
All right. Many thanks.
So we are all struggling to also know exactly what is the reason.
Very well. Thank you very much for your time. That's Techiman MTTD boss, ASP Andrews Okuneje. Let's move on. And young men suspected to be MPP supporters have attacked 3 separate government offices in Tamale. The National Health Insurance, the Youth Employment Agency, and the Sanyerigu Health Insurance offices were simultaneously subjected to flogging and ordered to vacate the offices to allow for new persons to take over. According to the district manager of the Tamale National Health Insurance Authority, the thugs carried out the attacks despite the presence of 2 police officers deployed there.
A number of young men, numbering about 40, came to the premises and insisted that everybody should vacate the offices. They were going to lock up the offices, so everybody should leave. And some of the clients who were in the office for service started complaining that they cannot leave, they have to be served and blah. And they started caning everybody. Clients and staff, they caned them, everybody moved out of the office. And then the office vehicle, which was carrying some staff to go and do registration at a business secondary school, they stopped the vehicle, seized the vehicle key from the driver, and then locked up the main gate of the offices. The office is fenced, so they locked up the offices with their own padlocks, and then left with a team, and then went to Sanargo office too. And when they went there too, they assaulted some of the clients and the staff.
At what point did intervention come through for you?
Well, for us, all along, there's supposed to be police presence in all these establishments, because when the earlier one happened, police were deployed to keep security there. But at the time they came, there were 2 armed policemen. But we cannot tell why they could not stop them. It took the intervention of even 2 military men who were there to also take advantage of renewing their cards. They just arrived and supported the police to ward them away before reinforcement came with the armored car.
Well, we've been speaking to a national service person, Nafisa Seidu, who narrated her ordeal during the invasion by the young men.
They came to Sanargo Health Insurance and they asked us that we should leave, we should vacate the office. So in the process, they were saying that new government, new rules, we should vacate. So in the process of packing my things, I was already on WhatsApp chatting with a friend. So because I'm fidgeting the phone, one of them thought I'm trying to video them. So he asked me that, are you trying to video us? So by the time I opened my mouth to say no, I'm on WhatsApp, one guy just slapped me from the back. So he slapped me and pulled me outside. By then I've left my office and I'm at the MIS office. So he slapped me, pulled me out, and one guy by name Hadi used wire. He flogged me on my back with the wire.
Well, Joy News has learned that the district police have installed security at the various offices and removed the locks to allow workers to return to work. Now, the Volta River Authority says recent power outages experienced in parts of the country have nothing to do with adequate or inadequate supply of electricity. The outages coming ahead of the planned shutdown of the Etwabo gas plant got many worried about the possibility of the return to the dark days of Dumso. Officials say the shutdown is necessary to enable engineers connect the new Atta Mills FPSO in the TEN field to the massive gas pipeline transporting fuel to the plant for processing. Corporate Affairs Director of the VRA, Gertrude Kumson, says she is confident the measures put in place to avert load shedding during the period will be effective, adding that the recent outages are the result of other factors, including maintenance works by the Electricity Company of Ghana. She spoke with Latif Idris.
The gas from Ghana Gas Company will not be available from today. And as we speak, it's been cut off. VRA, as the major power producer in the country, has assured the nation that we're going to increase power generation from Akosombo as the water level is good enough for us to run the 6 turbines. At Akuse, we are getting half generation because of the retrofitting that is going on there.
Are we running the 6 turbines in Akosombo?
We run 6 turbines at peak time when need be, and GridCo determines when we should run the system fully.
Currently, how many turbines are we running?
Because Ameri is down and we are losing 230 from Ameri, we may be running all 6.
Been outages, I mean, in some pockets in the national capital especially. What would you say is...
I also experienced it, and when I checked, one, it was because of the storm, and even before the storm occurred, yes, but UCG made announcements. That one, I also heard it. UCG made announcements, areas which will be affected by maintenance works that they were undertaking. Yes.
So it had nothing to do with load shedding?
No, it is only when there's a supply deficit that comes from VRA and we have to ration. That is when maybe we will come out with a load management plan. But what we are seeing now, we don't require a load management plan.
You're watching Joy News Prime. I'm Arba Kumson, and still ahead, the police hospital in Accra has been shut down for a fumigation exercise. We'll bring you details after this break. You're welcome back. Now, Parliament on Friday deferred approval of Gender and Social Protection Minister-designate Otiku Afisa-Jaba after the minority raised objections over her appointment. 5 other nominees, including Minister-designate for Monitoring and Evaluation Dr. Anthony Akutose, were however approved by consensus. The minority explained Ms. Jaba does not have the temperament to occupy the position and that she also did not perform the mandatory national service. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu then called for the House to vote on her nomination right away.
Be as it may, I would have thought that the Majority Leader, with his weight and very romantic about the rules, would have known that the appropriate thing is to go through the letter and spirit of Standing Order 109 and subject the outstanding nominee to the rules of voting. And if they so wish, by majoritarian rule, which itself, Mr. Speaker, as you taught us, can encourage democracy, mob rule. We have the majority. But Mr. Speaker, to say that the rules of this House are known, we are unable to build consensus. There is only one irresistible conclusion: for them to subject the Minister-designate for Women, Gender and Children to vote. Now, we want to now, we want to that is why cooperation can be good. That is why building consensus can be productive. If the Majority Leader is convinced, but I know him, and Mr. Speaker, I've had cause to say that if Parliament and his rules were a woman, he will break his vow on monogamy to insist that the right is done because he's committed to the institutional building of Parliament.
Well, the majority side of the House insisted she's qualified for the position and deserves to be approved. But after a lot of the minority members walked out, the House did not have the quorum to approve the nominee, compelling them to defer a vote on her to next week.
Article 78(1) spells out the qualification of who can become a Minister of State. That person must be a member of Parliament or a person who is qualified to be a member of Parliament. Articles 94, 1, 2, and 3 spell out who qualifies and who doesn't qualify. It is my understanding, Mr. Speaker, therefore, that in coming to a decision on whether or not a person should be approved, these are the rules that govern us and not to govern our exercise. Indeed, in reading the report, there's nothing untoward that has been said of any of the persons there, including Ms. Otiko Afisa-Jaba. In some of the contributions that have gone on, there are now introductions of other matters that are not based on the laws that we are using to conduct this exercise. My fear, Mr. Speaker, is that as this house is a house of record and a house that sets precedent, my fear is that if we begin to introduce some extra matters, tomorrow the floodgates will be open for many other matters that will not govern these laws. And my prayer is that we stick within these boundaries and do the exercise before us. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that it's on the issue of patriotism. Mr. Speaker, let me just refer you to a definition by Merriam-Webster of the definition of evil. Mr. Speaker, the definition of evil is unpleasant, disagreeable, nasty, horrible, foul, filthy, vile. And Mr. Speaker, how can you describe a sitting president or a former president of our country with this words, and when you are given an opportunity to be able to retract, you still say that you stand by a word and you don't believe that is an insult. Mr. Speaker, I really wish our sister Otiko Jaba should have this news from Honorable Osla Ozu. When Honorable Osla, even though we are yet to discuss her report, came before the committee, we all admire the way she had to navigate around most of the questions with regards to some of the utterances in the past. Mr. Speaker, with a greater respect, she was asked about a question. A member asked a question. When was the last time you spoke to your mother? And this was the answer of the nominee. The last time I spoke to my mother was 2 weeks to election. Mr. Speaker, she is going to a ministry where requires a lot of compassion. So, Mr. Speaker, I will end honorable minority leader. I'm concluding. Actually interrupting me. Yes, I'm concluding. I thought I'm taking my last sentence. I'm taking my last sentence. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge honorable members to consider the non-patriotic nature of her behavior and her composure to ensure that we do not approve her to be a minister. I thank you very much.
Well, Majority Leader Osei Mensah-Bonsu is meanwhile confident Otiko Afisa-Jaba will be approved for the position next week. He tells Joy News the Appointments Committee did a poor job whilst vetting her. Hence, the minority has no business objecting to her approval now.
We have to stay. We'll be able to deal with the other 6. And then this first tranche of 6. So we shall have 12. That was the agreement. Unfortunately, they could not submit the report on the other 6. So if you have to stay and just endure about 2-3 hours to vote on just one person, we thought it wasn't necessary.
Was it a case of you, the majority, not really having the numbers to push her through?
That is not true. Did you see how many of them were in the chamber? I don't want us to bulldoze our way through. And then in particular, if we're just going to deal with just one item, when the report on the 6th wasn't ready. That is why I said it wasn't worth the exercise.
Article 109, if my memory serves me right, is being quoted that you needed more than half the members of parliament in the House before you could...
More than half, if we counted, and the attendance register will bear me out. We had more than half. The number was in the region of 148. We had more than that.
But that's at the time that the discussion on that started. A lot of the minority guys were actually not present in the House.
Are you being truthful? The minority or the majority?
I mean the minority. I mean the minority. And I counted only about 10 of them.
The majority. We had the numbers. But I didn't want us to endure this pain 2 hours, 3 hours, just on one person. Today is Friday. If it is that we're going to consider the 6 others, would have been justified. And because we couldn't have the report on the 6th, I said to myself that it wasn't worth it.
They are asking Atiku Abubakar to make use of the weekend to go ahead and offer a public apology to the President Mahama. And beyond that, and beyond that, then the minority would support and allow her approval by consensus.
The point is, I pose the question. If somebody says that this is very devilish, this is devilish, what does it mean? It may mean something that is untoward. It's devilish, right? Oh, this is evil intentions. It's unacceptable. It's one of the meanings. So they should have asked her pointedly, what did you mean when you said the president was evil or evil-minded? You don't ask. And then you say that, well, evil can mean a fool. So you are describing the president as a fool. How do you justify that?
So the appointment committee probably didn't do a very good job in interrogating that particular issue.
Absolutely. That's the issue that I was raising.
So you won't advise Atiku to go ahead and offer this public apology the minority at the moment?
I was not there. I don't know the context of usage. And not knowing the context of usage, go and apologize. When you yourself have not been able to extract anything from the lady. If he says that I meant the president to be a fool, you would say that no, but that is unacceptable. But you don't interrogate it and you say that, or because you said the president is evil or evil-minded, he should go and apologize. I think Can I tell you something? When the matter went to the Supreme Court, in respect of qualification to vote, what happened at the Supreme Court? That the provision in the Constitution is supreme. If we have inferior laws, you cannot subject the Constitution to the inferior law. That settles it. And that would then mean that every person who comes before the appointment committee will have to show his evidence of national service. Nobody is asked. So why discriminate against her alone? I raise that matter.
The police hospital in Accra has been shut down for a fumigation exercise expected to rid it of pests and insects. The shutdown will last 3 days. Some key units of the hospital will be shut down as a result and not be accessible until Tuesday, February 7th. Some patients who were recuperating were discharged starting yesterday and today to make way for the exercise. A visit to the facility revealed empty seats at the outpatient department. Joy News' Maxwell Akpapa was there and reports.
Human activity here has reduced considerably. And we've seen some workers who have carried the fumigants that will be used. In fact, FASEP and then Fast Track, these are the fumigants that they are using to fumigate this hospital at this point. That started some few minutes ago. The building right behind me is where the main action is taking place because it houses the pediatric unit and the outpatient department. Now, because the intensive care unit, the ICU I'm talking about, is a very sensitive area, the person I spoke to at the PR department tells me that the fumigation exercise is not happening there.
A member of the Public Relations Unit, Efia Nunekepeku, has been explaining the rationale behind the exercise.
It has become necessary because, first, we would want to have a very conducive environment and atmosphere for our doctors, nurses, and administrative staff. We wouldn't want a situation whereby a nurse is going to inject a patient or insect some lime and then a cockroach or a mosquito bites the person. You can imagine what will happen. And then also we want to prevent our clients from acquiring diseases from the hospital-acquired diseases. For instance, you come with a headache, a stomachache, and then after you've been treated, you go back with some kind of malaria. We want to prevent that one. And thirdly, we also want to keep our records, the records of our clients, and some important documents safe from rodents and the likes.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. Still ahead, former President Rawlings blames the Ga State's hosting of the capital, Accra, on their lands for the numerous disputes which has left them disunited.
Accra has become the administrative
You're welcome back. Now, do you know that hand washing could reduce cases of diarrhea and pneumonia by half? In parts of Ghana, people take hand washing for granted, but in several parts of the country, the cost of a proper hand washing device prevents people from washing their hands even if they want to. A latest innovation called the Tippy Tap is giving people in rural Ghana cheap means of washing hands. Joy News' Justice Beta reports.
A cheap invention saving valuable lives. Latif Issa, a 13-year-old boy living in the northern regional town of Sayo, is making his own hand-washing device. All he needs are these sticks, which is readily available in his backyard. The Tippy Tap, the device he is building, is a revolution that is helping change hand-washing attitudes, especially for Ghana's poor.
People did not know washing your hands with soap is better than doing it without soap.
This is costing next to nothing to construct for many people. All you need is an empty gallon like this one, hanged on sticks like these. And you don't even need to bother about soap because the content of ashes from your kitchen is just as effective in ridding your hands of filth and any germs.
Building a Tippy Tap is basic. You need to mount an empty gallon on a bar, connect a rope to a stick connected to the handle, which would serve as a platform for the foot of the user. So when you step on the stick underneath, the water in the gallon tips over as running water. This invention has come after years of attempt by Ghana's health and sanitation sectors to deal with the issue of attitude, which means even though more than 80% of the population have access to improved water sources, only a fifth of households currently have access to improved hand-washing facilities.
Attitude generally towards sanitation, in Ghana is a very big challenge. If you look at our OPD cases, it's almost 90% of the cases are related to sanitation, especially hand washing. If you are able to wash your hands properly at the 6 critical times, I think you will not go to a hospital on a runny stomach or respiratory diseases and the rest.
We were using Satala to wash our hands after using the toilet. We visited the hospital all the time because then we always had diarrhea and cholera. We lost a lot of money, but now this innovation has saved us.
4,000 Ghanaian children die each year from diarrhea, even more from pneumonia, and 1 out of every 5 children is stunted, a chronic form of malnutrition linked to poor water and sanitation. For many of such victims, this could be a breakthrough of a lifetime. Justice Bedu, Joy News, Sayo, in the northern region.
We're taking a short break for international news, but still ahead in the bulletin, sexual harassment in the country is said to be reaching alarming levels, with incidents occurring at places often not associated with it, including churches and public transport. Tonight, we bring you the views of passengers on board one of Accra's minibuses. Former President Rawlings has traced the disunity amongst the people of the Ga state to the establishment of the state capital on their land. Interacting with chiefs from the Nungua traditional area Friday, he said the powers granted the state by the constitution over traditional lands, coupled with land grabbing by politicians, has significantly undermined traditional authority. The chiefs had called on him to formally announce the death of the overlord of the Ga Dangbe state, Wulomo Kono Bokute Lawe. Former President Rawlings also urged them to find a peaceful solution to the chieftaincy disputes between various factions within the state.
The administrative center of the country, homogeneous.
Accra has become the administrative center of the country, and that has allowed a lot of things to infiltrate the region. So it has affected the thought process and the unity of the people, because everybody is coming here and using political powers to grab your lands. Government needs to think about how politicians conduct themselves in order to save your customs and religions.
It's any government like what joining Bonnie what conduct was any it got disturbed government owner the culture can anyways and what Gabulawi Bonnie Tafla Ashanti one other ones on sure I guess and you go back.
Are you sure there is no problem? Because we saw a press conference yesterday about some conflicts in some parts of the Ga areas. So whatever it is, just find an amicable solution to it.
Whatever solution, yes, is required.
The Gamashi Wulomo lamented their difficulty in accessing the presidency since former President Rawlings left power.
Besane hone be wake watch Jelly John Rawlings nebaye amra lowe lepe enyon echi ebenko romwe ne ke wo gba asane ni bi ni yo na gba alo ni bi ni baba wonyo wo yo he kusum alo musu wo pa musu alo wo solio he bona fe ni ma yichwa.
Former President Rawlings was the only one who made himself accessible to us. He listened to our concerns, and whenever there was a problem, we prayed to the gods about it in order for peace to prevail in the country. Since he left office, we are unsure why subsequent governments don't want us around them. But we believe it is those around the leaders who do not want us to get close to them. We even believe that there have been some allocations from the state which never got to us. As spiritual leaders, if we are not encouraged, we are unable to pray for the country to get its resources and peace of mind to bring about development. We got discouraged at the point because it appeared our efforts were not recognized.
Nini kwa aba mami helambajo na gbambajo tambajo amralo ba ya amralo ni amralo amoshin wo boti ogbachun ami ni wo yonpa bona fe ma wo yonpa ni lo aba wo yonpa ni eni aba wo yonpa ni mumon ni ana ni agbene gold both side ke ni bi papa aba mami tai ni wona ayemanse gbele patu gbele ni bi nehin e kwa kagbalo e lai gboyin ni gbale omanse bi e kwa kagbale wo gbe shi mini ana ninu wochumo e wane e wo se ku e won to okun wo kaje alo pasashi fi o ni wo kwa ke ma anite ba fe ten.
He urged President Akufo-Addo to make his government more accessible to them.
Ni ha wo che Rawlings be ku e ka ma ke a chenyumo ni ba nye NDC party here. Aminu shishi ija ke ro mo am ke chun wo chun ni na me boni ni shipon ko to e.
When former President Rawlings says they should bring God to lead the NDC, people don't understand. It's because the NDC failed to work with the spiritual heads. We are appealing to President Akufo-Addo to engage us so that we can contribute to the advancement of the nation.
Tafrache wo musunkonju wona agbaji o ma na agbaji o ma ya ke baji o ko nu kwa ke anu won ya lo alo won ba fe hin na pa so mo hin Islam hin Buddhism hin wo hun wo Solomon loji shin shiche ni aketo man lo hun ehin ntwanu o manye juno abra wo fe ne.
The chief said plans for the funeral of the late overlord of the Dangwe state will be soon announced. Now, incidences of sexual harassment in the country have reached very alarming levels. That's according to the gender advisor at the Ministry for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Diana Adiko says the phenomenon has become so alarming because it's happening in places you won't necessarily associate with the act, such as churches and even on commercial buses or trotros. We'll hear from her shortly, but first listen to this victim of sexual harassment who says she had to leave 2 jobs because she could no longer put up with the harassment by her former employers.
2 years ago, I got a job through a friend, and my boss, he was always coming to me with, I like you, you're a very nice person, I like your work. And then it moved to he texting me at night, sending me pictures, nude pictures.
Of himself?
Yes, of himself. And he's married. So I keep refusing, and then it got to a time, anything I do, he doesn't like it. He always finds problem with my work. And I try reporting to a female supervisor, but instead of her listening to my side of the story, she thought I was rather sleeping with my boss, and she fired me.
So you got fired?
Yes.
Because you were being harassed?
Yes.
And you were fired by a woman?
A woman. I learned he was doing it before I came into the company. It's something he's always doing, so I don't blame myself.
Has that affected your perception of, employment and working with men?
Yes, because for the past 5 months since I lost my job, I haven't gone for any interview or search of job because of that. Because my previous job was also the same thing.
Well, gender advisor at the Ministry for Gender and Social Protection, Diana Adiko, is urging more advocacy on the matter. She also spoke on the Joy FM Super Morning Show Friday.
Until the country and society collectively say this is unacceptable, affects our development. We must say that sexual harassment is happening in the church, the choir masters and the choristers, the pastors and some of his church members. So it's just all over the place. I bet you trotro are stealing opportunities to touch body parts of persons. It's just so widespread, and nobody, you talk about it, so everybody thinks it's normal. The woman's body should be played with from time to time to give pleasure and gratification to our men. They need to distress. The objectification of women has come to stay, and we think we need to collectively oppose that. People have asked, where do you go also? I mean, we have the Labour Commission. For example, if you are unlawfully dismissed, you actually can go to the Labour Commission. If investigated, you can be reinstated and compensated. The SHRAJ is also doing it. They have a lot of cases on sexual harassment. You can try the police, but the 2 institutions, Labour Commission and SHRAJ, are very good places to go. Compile the evidence. Don't delete messages, don't delete videos, keep the audios, and do not shift the goalpost and say, at this point, I didn't like it. So that it looks like he can make an argument that indeed we were actually having a relationship.
So like we indicated earlier, one of the places where sexual harassment takes place, you wouldn't think of it, but is the commercial buses or trotro. So we went out to speak to some passengers and even the drivers themselves. Take a listen.
From my personal experience, I haven't ever experienced such an act from any mate or so ever. I haven't experienced.
How about the drivers? I mean, when you sit here, they are changing the gears, they try to hit your tire.
A driver who is concentrating on his driving, how can he even come and touch my tire in the first place?
You think so?
Yeah. You can't even do that. When you did that, I mean, they will slap you while driving. No.
My guy, you don't think some drivers take advantage of ladies who sit just beside them in changing the gears? They're trying to, wrap their hands on the ladies' thighs and all of that.
No, with me, I don't think so. Because sometimes the drivers are also afraid. You don't know what the lady can do to you. So with that, no, I don't think, and I've never witnessed anything like that before.
Okay. Say mate for no. If you are more just can if you are especially ma no mo e akona mo fa ho e de mo sa sabi o etwitwi omo
ana nyampa
so make announce so say omo
say na minim na wa beka sa ta say be ti sa say mate no to me jiska sa ta say o to me jiska recording za before ba ho but driver na bia so change gears na e bia be kan na say be be no be ka say on hwe no ho
okay, I feel very happy about joining.
So we're talking sexual harassment. Some of the ladies, when they sit by you and you are changing the gears, yes, you tend to touch their thigh. You do that?
Sometimes I will do that, but sometimes I have space and everything go through. Dabi I know they mentioned that. Say Dabi wo ebi na almost so. E ma de bi wo almost so di o mbetra wo sa na space na akuro so di e ba sa no a na ye se me chejiji ya no na etwi o mo na ho kakra te se de wo kan ya.
Etwi o mo na ho a na o feel it.
Oh, I know the ya na ha me because me nya kwan chejiji ya ni ye ba. Ya na ye manage ni sa say the almost so have you
ever had that? No, I haven't, so I can't say much about it.
What experience do you have with a driver's mate that you feel is so disgusting?
No, the way they sometimes talk is what I can't say, but apart from sexual harassment in the car, I'm not too sure about it.
How about sitting on the front seat and you get the driver changing the gears and then...
Well, to be honest, I've not experienced that, so I can't say anything. Yes.
All right, thank you very much, Mercy. So Mercy has no experience. Okay, so
but you the country. Okay. Obi o ha ansa na driver ni be sa no. Na free there oba na obetena o de waye. Because driver ni no so tena ho na so hu sere ho. Saturday na wa hye na ye hot a. Na ni eba sa de no ho. Enti no we na dwen say ono so no de gi a no be hwe se de won so no.
The way the ladies appear is what determines what happens to them. So if you expose your thighs to the driver and the driver's mate, then they will take advantage.
But the same mate in this game will be. Now I put nufu what they man on a can. No. The better one share. I want to be a son wash. And I never driver for any meeting for no or more fort.
Well, you're watching Joy News Prime. I'm Arba Kumsi. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with entertainment news.